Ah, it works. So, hello everyone, it's Eric here, and I'm just going to change a little bit with the... There we go. Oh, I'm sorry, we're getting the entire room here in the picture, apparently. Sorry about that. It's a bit dusty and everything, and over there is my workstation for painting and modeling and stuff, so I apologize for that. Anyways, I'm going to talk about Mutant Chronicles, which is one of my favorite games of all time. When it comes to role-playing games, it's that one and another one called that has been released now, called Dragonbane. It was released summer last year. Both of them are like important for my childhood, uh, and I remembered my first introduction. I might have mentioned this in another video. I'm not entirely sure. Also, okay, okay. Take a deep breath. Well, simply put, I've been sick for over a month. I got the flu or the vid or whatever it was. No, it wasn't the vid. I had my self-checked, but it was a very rough influenza, and it's still affecting my throat a bit. Yeah, as I said, the first introduction I had to the setting of Mutant Chronicles was through the board game Siege of the Citadel, which led to getting into rule book and then the splat books and then playing it and so on. So it became very important. I think we played like we were kids in the 90s. I mean, we had plenty of time. No internet, hardly any telephones either. So I think we played when we played Dragonbane. I remember we played like 3 to 4 times a week. Mutant Chronicles, I think we played 2 or 3 times a week when we started playing it. I need to pour myself a little tea here. I'm going to show. I have a pot of tea. So just need to pour it for myself a little bit. And today I was going to talk about the megacorporations as a start, because I've spoken generally about the setting and everything. So I was going to go a little deeper. I wanted to originally do like a full video for each faction and each corporation and everything. I don't know if I will ever do that. I'm sorry. But as a, how should I say, as a middle ground, I'm doing at least a video discussing all of them. Maybe some of the factions as well. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how the video goes before we get there. But before we start that, I want to let's see, where did I add this? Yes, let's talk about one thing. What is a megacorporation? So I'm going to just jump over to Wikipedia to make it easier. It's a term originally coined by Alfred Eichner in the book Megacorp and Oligopoly: Microfoundation of Macrodynamics. Wow. Basically, it's a combination of the word mega and corporation. It's a company that is so big that it has its own laws and its own, basically so powerful that it has own governmental laws, possesses heavily armed, often militarized private armies, a privatized police force, its own sovereign territory, and might actually be an entire government in itself. And it has an extreme corporate culture. This has been found in literature from von Harbaugh's Metropolis. That's 1927. Heinlein had some of it in there. I think it was very popular in the 60s and 70s with the anti-corporate ideals that were then. And there's, of course, it's prevalent in sci-fi in general. Like in the Doom franchise, the UAC is technically a megacorp. Also, the Cyberpunk 2077 has several, like our Arasaka and Militech. Wayland Yutani from the Alien franchise is also a megacorp. in real life, we've actually have had real megacorps, basically. And that is, for example, the Dutch East India Company, the British East India Company, the Hudson Bay Company, and so on. Yeah, so and we are starting to see like the start of megacorporation in modern days with the Saudi Arabian Saudi Aramco, for example. So basically, or easily said, it's a corporation that is it's basically its own sovereign state. Let's put it like that. So yeah. And in the Mutant Chronicles world, there are 5 megacorporations officially. There's a 6th in, well, I wouldn't call them a megacorp, but they're a faction at least in the 3rd edition. And that would be, I think they're called the White Star, and I haven't read the Black Book yet, so I won't talk about it. I'm more interested in the original, so to speak. We can take this down now. And I'm going to start adding some pictures. Corporations. As I said, there are 5 corporations. There's Capital, Bauhaus, Mishima, Cybertronic, and Imperial. I almost had them in the right order. I'm going to talk about them in the order of size. The first one is very, very easily chosen. I'm just going to get the image here. Just hang in there a moment. There we go. And the largest megacorp would be Capital. So now let's make it a little bit smaller so we can all have a good look at this. Each corporation has its own little, like, I'll put it here on the side. Each corporation has its own little, like, tag or motto for their splat books. This is also I think this was the first splat book we owned as well, Mutant Chronicles Capital. Wonderful, wonderful image painted by Paul Bonner. Bonner made basically all the covers for every single book in the Mutant Chronicles series, and I think he did all of them for 3rd edition as well. There's just one book that doesn't have a Bonner cover, and that is the Ilian splat book for the 1st edition. Anyways, what we can see here is we have Mitch Hunter kicking an undead legionnaire, I think it is supposed to be, in the face, and he's using that weird shotgun that I can't remember the name of. There are like 2 other Imperial Capital soldiers that I don't know, and then we have Big Bob Watts. And there was a bit of confusion for me in the beginning, because Big Bob Watts, I can jokingly say, like in the Warhammer universe, Vulcan and the Salamanders are the only black people in that universe. Big Bob Watts was the only black guy we had. Don't be too harsh on us. This was the early 90s in Scandinavia, a very homogenous culture. So we didn't think too much about it. And as kids, we absolutely didn't think about this. But they are the 2 main characters. And there was some confusion because in the Siege of the Citadel book or box set, the Capital faction contained Mitch Hunter and Big Bob Watts. But Big Bob Watts was actually a white guy. And I found out many years later that that was another Capital character named Kowalski, I think his name was. So, you know. And up there, they are currently on Mars, because it's the red planet. You can also see their Phobos and Deimos in the background. Why am I pointing over here? I don't understand. There. Kind of. This is silly. And we can also see the shark hover bike in there. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So, as I said, Capital is the largest megacorporation in the MC universe. Just gonna sip a little tea here. And I believe also they are the largest, I should say. They're the largest and the most powerful, and they are also the most financially wealthy corporation of them all. well, when we say the largest, when it comes to corporation, it usually means the most money. And if I remember correctly now, the capital was founded by matching together the conglomerates and corporations of the Americas. So this is Merca, the Merca faction, so to speak, which makes it very multi-ethnical and so on, but it has a very strict, what would be an exaggerated 80s, 90s Wall Street corporate culture. It has a lot of work with media and stocks and stuff like that, and also, of course, military arms. Let's see now. I can probably pick out the splat book here. Yep, it's right here. The physical copy of it. So, yes. So I'm going to refer to the splat book a little bit here and there. So when I forget stuff. So as I said, it's a conglomeration of the corporations of the Americas. They were also the first to send out colonial ships and start colonizing the solar system. They were the first ones on Luna, the moon, and the founders of Luna City. They got their largest stake on the planet Mars. That is Capital's, so to speak, own planet, even though there are other corporations active on that planet. But they have that one, and the capital of Capital, except for the great Capitol building on Luna, of course, is Sandorado. And there are like a lot of things. There's a lot of interesting references. For example, the main spaceport in Sandorado vicinity is the Kitty Hawk skyport, for example, which I find kind of hilarious in a way. This is a poor one. There was a reference to the Twin Towers, which was called the 11 Towers. The Donaldson Radio Tower, Wonderland instead of Disneyland. Let's see now. There are presences of the other corporations in Sandorado, of course, as well. Mostly because every corporation, as a national entity, would have embassies and similar things, of course, in other territories. Let's see now. I'm just trying to remember. Phobos and Deimos, sadly, has been conquered by the Dark Legion forces, so they are not so pleasant. They used to be prison moons until the Dark Legion actually took over. I'm going to see here if I can show this. Let's see if I can. There we go. That's a map of Mars, actually. And the one that was number 1 there was Sandorado, and 4th is the Kirkwood Bunker, which was the first adventure supplement for the previous edition, which was called Mutant Space or Mutant Rymd. So they actually put it in there. That's kind of sweet. Mars has a lot of farmlands, but it also has a gigantic desert that stretches around the equator. Oh, well, let's say half the planet's equator, more or less, called the Great Rust Desert. And in the Great Rust Desert, of course, there's citadels, which is the fortifications or personal fortifications of several different, what's it called? My god, Nephirites, which are the warlords of the Dark Legion. The most famous one on Mars, his codenamed Saladin. Let's see now. Of course, since the books this is an action role-playing game, there's a lot of information about law enforcement and about different military units. Of course, there's a lot of military units. Big Bob Watts, for example, and Kowalski are both free Marines. Quite an interesting thing. They are basically the Suicide Squad, or Kelly's Heroes, or the Dirty Dozen, I think it's called. There's also the the dog soldiers, which are canine units with like cyber dogs. There's the Martian banshees, which are kind of like Ronin-esque. No, not the banshees. Sorry. Martian banshees are shock troops with jump packs that come screaming in. They're shock infantry or shock cavalry, I think it would be called. The Celtic Strikers, those were the ones I was thinking about. They are the ones that are anti-Mishima group, and they are basically a pastiche of the Lone Samurai style fighter. There's the Airborne Rangers, which is just the airborne, basically. There's the Alpha Force, which would be something similar to, I guess, Delta Force. There's the Naval Forces. This is kind of interesting. Mitch Hunter, which is the poster boy for Capital, was, before he became a Doom Trooper, he's actually a Doom Trooper. He was, according to his marker on his left shoulder pad, we can't see it in the picture here, but it's a trident. And the trident is the insignia of the Polaris Tridents, which is like an attack, scuba diver attack force in the Arctic area. So I guess some kind of like Navy SEAL style kind of thing. We can also see on his right-hand shoulder pad that he's a captain, I believe it was. Which I find it kind of weird because he has an army insignia, but he has a Navy insignia. Well, he has an army rank, but he has a Navy insignia, so it's kind of confusing in that respect. Details, many details. There's also one interesting thing when it comes to the military. There is the character creation is that you spend a certain period and you roll the dice to see what happens during this period of time, and then you do advancements, like you get extra XP to spend on skills and so on. But if you're a criminal or something bad happens to you, you might lose your citizenship, which is as part of being a criminal or being punished in one way or another. You can clean the slate entirely by becoming a member of the Freedom Brigade, which is basically a foreign legion. There are two versions of this foreign legion of the Free Brigades, if I remember correctly. There's the lighter version for people who want to become members of Capital. They want to shift corporations. And then there's the Penal Legion version. And the Penal Legion is basically a Suicide Squad as well. And there's actually a story in the main splat book about a guy who goes through the entire thing. He's a punk, he gets busted, and he gets thrown into the Freedom Brigades. You have to serve 10 years in the Freedom Brigades before you become the slate is clean and you're free from any like negative bonuses or whatever we should call it, and back as a full member of society. Capital, of course, they speak English, I guess. The languages aren't really explained. They are not explained at all in the first edition. But in the third edition, they are, to make it a little bit trickier. So they are probably speaking some kind of new, neo-developed English, considering that we're far, far in the future. We're past the 23rd century. I think we're like 27th century or something. I can't remember. If I do further lore videos, I have to check that properly. There's also the classical... I was talking about language. Which means that a Capitolian might understand an Imperial, but they will not understand a Mishiman or a Bauhausian. Cybertronic, I don't remember. I haven't really checked what language they speak, but I'm guessing it's going to be something different as well. And there's also skills for like corporate culture understanding or like because they are very different. And considering how many more worlds there are out there that are inhabited now by these corporations, which means that they have developed over so many years, there will be cultural differences between them, of course. Any member of the capital corporation has a citizenship and is bound to a stock. Everybody has one stock. Depending on class and money, of course, you might have more stocks in the corporation. But everyone has the right to be born with one stock, and that is your citizenship. If you commit a crime and you are convicted of a crime, you lose that thing. You lose that stock. And are therefore, you're still kind of a member of capital, but you're not a full citizen. You don't have the right to vote, and you lose a lot of other rights in the society. That's why it's so important. And I think in the US as well is that people who have been in prison aren't allowed to vote. I'm not sure. I'm not fully into how this works entirely. But that's how it is there. And it follows that. One last thing I wanted to do to look at, because we were talking about military and police, is that they have done the classical thing, a little bit of a parody of how we watched the US back in the day, and I think we do to this day, is that everything is abbreviated. And it seems to be a recurring thing in the US even today, that everything is abbreviated in one way or another. So there are 4 agencies. There's the Military Intelligence Corps, which is basically, what is that on the tin? It's the Military Intelligence Corps. And I guess it's a kind of a combination of both NSA and CIA. There's the Central Bureau of Investigation. Yeah, really hard to figure that one out, right? That's FBI. There's EIA. As you know, I should have worn my glasses because the light makes it really hard to read. It's very similar to MIC. They are surveilling other corporations and the Dark Legion. Okay, that's what they do. And the last one was the Presidential Security Service, so the Secret Service. One final thing, and it's kind of funny. You have the original rulebook with all the different professions you can do there, and every splat book then also had its own like Megacorporation specific carriers. So you had the agents that I just told you guys about. You could be a politician, a star, then the Special Forces, and the Freedom Brigades. I need to lower the volume of my music. I have some background music while I talk, and I fear that I'm becoming louder and louder due to the music. There we go. It was a little bit too loud. So that was the capital Megacorporation. So we're going for the next one, and I'm actually choosing because I shouldn't speak when I'm sitting here like this. Right. So the next Megacorporation, the second place for size, is actually kind of shared between 2 different corporations. But I'm starting with one of my favorites, which is Bauhaus. There we go. Put it like this. Once more, we have a wonderful painting by Paul Bonner. You can see here, there. Need to remember which way I should point. You can see here at the bottom right corner, we have a Nephorite skull impaled there. We have a Venusian marshal sitting on a horse. I feel sorry for the horse because that is power arm. So he's a heavy guy. This poor horse, and I know what kind of breed horse that is. I don't know the name of it right now on the top of my head. And in the background, we have a grizzly tank. One of the largest tanks in the game. And it actually appeared in Warzone. So Bauhaus, second and third largest. Here's the splat book. The original splat book that I have. It's made up of mostly central, southern, eastern European states and northern European states. So this was like, since I'm Scandinavian myself, so this was our corporation. It has a very very different corporate culture compared to Capital. As I said, Capital was the let's make fun of America. This is more, I would say, around World War I, Central European culture. Because, well, this book is it's a little bit stiff. I think it has gotten a little bit moisture damaged, actually. Bauhaus is ruled, instead of corporations, Capital has basically the Capitolian dream, which is the American dream. Straight rip. While Bauhaus is more of a static society. It has a very stratified societal levels. In the game, you have something called the social standing, which goes from 1, which is the lowest, you're basically homeless then, 0, you're homeless. So we can say it goes from 0, but no player can be, well actually I think a player can become 0. Not sure, I don't remember. It was a while ago since I played this game and properly read the book, so... but most players are from 1 to 10, which is 10, you're basically an oligarch or part of the ruling family of that corporation. So, and in most the smaller corporations and in Capital, and also in Imperial, I think kind of in Imperial, you can actually rise and fall from this social standing up and down. You can climb, you can actually make the dream come true of having more money and more status. While in Bauhaus, you're born with status and the money, depending on your family. So let's go here and there. So you have on the top, the ruling families, the owners of the corporations are the top brass. They are called the nobility. And below them you have the commoners. Simple in that way. But it means that there are hardly any movement from, like, you can't move from, well, you can in very, very extreme circumstances, you can move from a commoner up to a noble, and a nobleman can of course fall from grace and become a commoner, but these are extremely rare. You can get more, well, how should I say, money, personal wealth through character creation, but your status is usually the same, always the same, more or less. As you know, just checking here. Yes, so there were special rules for Bauhaus when it comes to the social standing. I'm checking it here right now. When it came to Capital and general corporate creation, you rolled a d10, and whatever you got, that was your social standing when you started. Then during character creation, it can go up and down. Bauhaus, you roll 2d4s plus 2. So you have a minimum of 4, which would put you in like lower middle class, somewhere like that, or upper lower class or something. Anyone between standing 4 and 6 are commoners. If you were on the 7th, you were a bureaucrat family. 8th, you're a lower nobility. 9th, you're a higher nobility. And 10, you belong to one of the 4 ruling families. So, the important thing, let's now, can I find a good representation here of the, yeah, here we go. So, as you can see here, you have the spoke wheel, the cog wheel. That is the insignia of Bauhaus. And the outer cogs symbolize the noble families, and the spokes, the 4 spokes, represents the ruling families, and they are called the Kurfürsten families, or the princes would be the more correct translation in English. But Kurfürsten, since they are, Bauhaus is German, Bauhaus basically means merchant house, more or less. I think that's a direct translation. The 4 ruling families are the Romanovs, yeah, very, very rich fantasy here, the Richthausen, the Bernheims, and the Saglielli. So we have Italians here. Bauhaus is known for For me, it's kind of easy because it's a like German Scandinavian style society, which is very structured, very strict, with social norms and everything, and everybody has to do military service, which means that your character will be drafted into the military and get weapons training basically no matter what, and will be a member of the Home Guard. There's a passage here about the different like social standing and how it works here, and falling from grace. Once more, we have the special professions for this faction. We have special ones for the military and police because Bauhaus has more intense training of military and police officers. You can be a student, which was also in the main rules. So these actually become something else. They take over the entire rule system for the base game. You can become an administrator. There's also scientists. There is actually a profession called scientist. There's one that I always found a little bit funny, which is a magistrate. And it sounds more or less as it is. A magistrate is a magistrate. It's a lawman with the right to rule upon law. But these magistrates are a little bit more those who travel the world, the wilderness, and spreads the law. They are basically the Judge Dreds. They're a Judge Dredd pastiche in the system. Of course, every single profession has its own degree of like how you are in the hierarchy, and I like the fact that the magistrates, it says here, the magistrate of the first and third to the third rank works mostly with local crime. The fourth to fifth, they are called what would it be called in English? They are called åklagare in my language, and it would be not the civil defender. It would be the one from the state who says that that pursues it. Would be like the DA in the US, the district attorney. And the sixth is called executioners because they have the right to catch criminals, gather a posse, catch criminals, perform any kind of act of like basically Judge Dredd, like you have done this, this, and this, you have been found guilty, you will be executed. That's what they are allowed to do. We have the diplomats. Oh. Yeah. We have regular workers, entertainers, which is exactly what it says on the tin once more. It's an entertainer. And they also have different ranks depending on how famous they are. The journalist. Hello, Mongo. Welcome to the stream and Happy New Year. Hope you're doing great. Let's see, there was the journalist. There's also pilgrims. Bauhaus is a very devout society, so they do actually go on pilgrimage to the different cathedrals in the Brotherhood's service. But there's one thing here that I find interesting, and that is colonists. Bauhaus, like most corporations, are expansionists, and Bauhaus' main planet is Venus. And Venus is a wild jungle planet, like we used to say back in the day, like Venus, ooh, the wonderful green planet with lots and lots of jungles. I'm doing fine, Mongo. A little bit of a sore throat still, so I'm drinking tea. Yeah, so they are allowed to like continue colonizing and clearing out jungle and everything like that. And then there's the final thing called a knight. A knight of the orders. And there are several orders within the Bauhausian society. Let's see now. Yes. There are both like official orders and there's also secret ones, which are kind of funny. Once more, we're going into the special, like, forces of the Bauhausian society, Bauhaus Corporation. We have the Venusian Rangers, which is, they basically look like the dude over here, but they're like a specialist jungle warfare group. There's the Étoiles Moutantes, which are well, they are basically space knights. Well, oh, wait, here's a picture of that's a Venusian Ranger. As you can see, he looks very much like the dude on the front page. The Étoiles Moutantes, which is like the Deadly Riders, they are an anti-Legion special force. There you go. And then there's the Blitzers, which are, well, basically what it says. They are Blitzers. They are specialized in Blitzkrieg, more or less. They use a lot of armored vehicles. They are both armor and anti-armor forces. There was something I was going to say. I can't remember. Yes, as I said, the Bauhausian society is very structured. Let's see now, what else is there about it? Oh, right. The reason why the Bauhausian society is very devout followers of the Brotherhood. Back in the first edition, the Brotherhood was more of a religious institution, while in second as well. In third edition, it became more of a mystic society, anti-Dark Legion thing that united humanity, which allowed a lot of philosophies, but it seems, once more, I haven't read it entirely yet, but it seems to be more based on Christianity, but allowing other forms of faith to exist. Brotherhood is more a gathering of holy people that can use this magic force called the Arch. And the first cardinals, I should say, came from the Bauhaus Megacorporation. That's why they have a very distinct and close relationship with the Brotherhood. I would have to go through more of a diplomatic discussion about that if I wanted to. As I said, their home planet is Venus. They, of course, have areas on Luna and other planets. The main capital is Heimberg. So, Homeberg. Heim is home, I know that much. And Berg. Not 100% sure in this context. So, there's a lot of jungles around the equator. The northern areas are... Do I remember correctly that Venus was warmer on the north than it was in the south? Let's see now. They have put it into like different zones, so they call it the rings in the book. There's a winter... We have the ice caps. There's the winter rings, where I guess is a subarctic area where it's with a lot of mountains and probably snow most year around. There's the war rings, where there's mostly most of the provinces, and then there's the fire ring, which is the giant zone that goes from which is the equator area, which is just jungles. The most famous of the Dark Apostles' presence there is codenamed Alakai. He is like Saladin. He is also an Algoroth Nephirite warlord. And I think that's about it for Bauhaus, at least for now, unless I do. It's a very fascinating society. I forgot to say also that Bauhaus has the corporation itself, the families, the ruling families. If you're from a lower... I'm trying to find this information now. Ah, yes. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting about society. First of all, we had the Kurfürsten families, the prince, the royal families. We have the high nobility, which are 10 different families. There are no other high noble families. When it comes to the lower, let's know it was here. Yeah, there's only 10 high noble families or houses. Because everything is house, so houses. But the lower nobility, there are 2,694 low noble houses or families. In the book, in the Splat book, there are 6 of them, like pre-made, if you want to use them. And I think there is some information on like how to make your own house if you want to. But here we go. Commoners and slaves. I forgot the fact that Bauhaus actually had slaves. So it says here, in Bauhaus, many megacities, there are millions upon millions of individuals that do not belong to the megacorporation, even though they live in Bauhaus-made housing, eating Bauhaus food and work, travel with Bauhaus-made transportation and work for Bauhaus. These people within the corporation are called thrall, or thralls, actually. So slave wouldn't be the most correct word. These are the uneducated workers that work in the large factories with disgusting work environment that every corporation has to be able to withhold their own economic power. Thralls are not given any social advancement. They cannot become foremen. They cannot participate in the home guard. Theoretically speaking, they have no they have no obligations to the corporation, and the corporation has no obligation to them. So they are basically non-Bauhausian members, but they are Bauhausian members. So they are more or less like criminals in the capital. Okay, moving on. As I said, it's so interesting about this entire society. And then we'll move over to the next corporation. The third corporation, and I'm going to change the picture. We have Mishima, or Mishima. Death before dishonor. And this is a beautiful picture once more, Paul Bonner. Mishima, as basically can be seen by the wrong hand. You have the big M here. Yeah, it is the Asians. it's a Japanese XP. We can see, I am not sure exactly let's see what it says here on the back. On the front, a Mercurian maculator being surprising, ambushing a samurai from Mitsaki. Is what it says. Oh, yes. I forgot to talk about the poster boys for the Bauhaus Corporation. There's 2 characters. It's Max Steiner, who is the Venusian Ranger. I showed him his picture there. That's his official picture. And then there's an étoile montante called Valerie Duval. And they are also Doom Troopers. All of these poster characters are Doom Troopers. Anyway, Mishima, like Bauhaus, has a static society or social standing. They are originally they are based upon general Asian corporations, East Asian, I should say. Let's put it over here. And over their development, they became kind of adopted a Chinese-Japanese social culture. So they are the shogunate, the imperial shogunate before, right at the beginning of the end of the isolation in the 17th, beginning of the 18th century, kind of, when it comes to social, mixed in with a little bit like neo-Tokyo cyberpunkish ideals. Let's put it like that. I think that's the best description I can give for you. The Mishima is run by one person and one family only, and that is the great Mishima. I can't remember what his name. It's a dynasty. Sorry, the Mishima dynasty. So it's the High Lord Mishima, I think his title is. That rules it. But Mishima is very, very old. I think he only resides on Luna. He does not interfere too much in the business outside of Luna. He has his children to take care of that. And he has 3 children that basically rules the entire corporation for him. Mostly because he's so damn old. These are called the... Well, they're called... What would they be called in English? I can't remember. Well, they are the princes. Let's call them the princes. It's easier that way. So, it says here they are the most rulers, the most influential rulers. Their power and influence is noticed everywhere in the world. Each and every one of them are incredibly wealthy. All are served by hundreds of fanatical warriors. Each and every prince hate each other with a passion. All 3 of the current princes are children to the great Lord Nagoya. Oh, his name was Nagoya. I forgot that. Nagoya. Duh. It says so here. But they have different mothers due to the High Lord's tradition having several concubines. He has 1 wife and several concubines, so there are currently 3 princes. Okay, so the first one is Moya, the Prince of the Mountains and the Lord of Mercury. Mercury is the planet, except once more, they have their holdings on Luna, but they have their own planet, and it's Mercury. It's a subterranean society, and he rules over that planet. There's Maru, Prince of the Oceans, who rules on the holdings on Venus. And then we have Princess Mariko, the Princess of the Skies, or the Heavens. And she rules on the Mishima holdings on Mars. And they call this society a techno-feudalism. That's actually a good word for it. So you have, once more, you have the commoners, and you have the nobility. And once more, rank. There's also secret societies. Mishima has a very... they also have the faceless, which is the homeless part of society. There are also, as I said, samurais. There's also ronin, so you can do the entire, 7 samurais and the wandering ronin and so on. There's also demon hunters that are fighting against dark legions. There's mystical masters with special powers. Mishima is a very isolationist society, especially on Mercury. There's only one society, one city on Mercury that is open to anyone from outside of Mishiman society, and that's due to Imperial invading and getting a trade deal. Basically, this is a mirror of China and Hong Kong. Yeah, it's Hong Kong, I think. No, Taiwan, sorry. So, and it's the contract, 99 years, and then it will go back to Mishima, and it's soon going to happen, according to the books. Once more, you have the social standing from 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, and so on. The Mishiman society is based on rank, so certain career options are not open to you unless you are the right social rank, both upwards and downwards. So, for example, a nobleman wouldn't be able to be a worker, or maybe a craftsman, but not a worker, for example. So that is a very important thing. I can show a picture here of, so you get an idea. There we go. Here's some career criminals we have one there, and we have some workers. We have a samurai and I think a nobleman. Samurais use very classical samurai-looking armor that is powered armor. So we have once more the different careers specific for Mishima, taking over from the main rulebook. We have the samurai, of course. You need to have social standing 6 or higher. The nobleman, you have to be a 9. We have the commoner, you have to be a 3 or lower. Guild member, 4 or 5, so craftsman. We have the Ashigaru, which is, in this case, I believe that Ashigaru were originally like non-noble, non-cavalry forces, so infantry forces in Japan during the Middle Ages and late Middle Ages. I believe, I can't remember. I wasn't too up to snuff on Eastern history, even during university, because I studied the Middle Ages, but I studied Central and North European Middle Ages, so I'm a little bit off on that part. But once more, you have to be social standing 5 or lower. So that's the military option for any career option for anyone with a lower social standing. You have members of the triad. The triad are exactly what it sounds like. They are the organized crime within this. They are the Yakuza or the triads. I think the triads are Chinese. I know in Japan it's the Yakuza at least. We have also professional martial artists. Very stereotypical here. And we have the Ronin, the masterless samurai, demon hunters, and one very special group called the Shadow Walkers, which are shinobi or ninjas. And the ninjas are interesting because they can either be heretics, part of a death cult for one of the Dark Legion's factions, or they can actually be just shinobi. So, be a little bit of everything. What is interesting with Mishima is that they actually came with a mystical power. Someone had watched too many animes and read too much manga, like Rurouni Kenshin maybe, I don't know. But the Mishima has mystical powers. Every human has potential for mystical power in the game, and can join the Brotherhood and start studying the art. But Mishima has developed their own psychic powers, and they call it chi, or ki. Ki is how it's spelled here, but I think the proper pronunciation would be chi. So it says here, during the long history of Mishima, the Mishima population has developed psychic powers that are does not exist amongst other corporations, or even the Brotherhood. They have made Mishima soldiers feared on the battlefield and given the second Directorate, Inquisitors, a lot of sleepless nights, where they try to figure out if this is some new dark manifestation of the Dark Legion. Most samurais can use chi powers, and they show no sign of being corrupted by the Dark Legion. And they are a little bit more... they have a little bit stronger resistance to the influence of the Dark Legion than regular humans. There are many kinds of chi powers within the Mishiman populace. All follow the 7 sages. Those are the original chi power users and their teachings. So, and then you can choose like different martial arts, and they have their own special powers that you can use and so on. It's really blah. It's very confusing, and I felt that this kind of broke the game a lot. The game Chronicles suffered a lot from the power creep over the years, and it became worse and worse, and this is one of the biggest problems in the game, in my opinion. Yeah. Most common is that you need to have an MST score, so mental strength score, of 14 or higher most of the time to be able to learn a chi power or one of the different arts. Except for one or two of them which are like Dark Legion related. So but they don't use chi power, they use dark gifts. So, and the score for the attribute scores, like strength, constitution, and so on. The mental strength specific characteristic, and everything else is from 3, which is the lowest, up to 18, which is the highest. The higher the better, of course. So a 14 or higher. 11 is like the regular standard for humans. There's also special, and there's a description of this. Mishima society, as I said, is based on honor, tradition. It's basically just watch any Japanese martial arts movie or historical movie and you'll see more or less how their society is. I don't want to sound dismissive, but this is it was a massive, we'll just do neo-Japanese manga style society for them. So that's it. People who are dishonored does harakiri and stuff like that. The interesting thing, of course, is that the society is based on how feudal Japan was. So you have the daimyo at the top and his flunkies all the way down to their samurais, and they are the law and the rulers of that society, and then you have the regular people. I would say the samurai rabbit, what the hell was his name? Usagi Yojimbo is actually a really good. I think that was also a heavy influence on this book, honestly. But just reading that and you will get an idea of basically how Mishiman society is. So you have people with the swords, but they also have guns. There you go. They also have mecha suits. Of course, they have mecha suits. And that's more or less it. I don't really have much to say about Mishima or their society more than that. So that brings us on to the fourth corporation, which are my favorite, personal favorites. Here. It is Imperial. So I'm just going to change the image once more. Here we go. The Clans of Damnation. I'm just going to move over here. Sorry, once more, I forgot. The poster boys for Mishima is Hatamoto Yojimbo. His name is actually Yojimbo, and he is a Hatamoto. So he is dressed in this formal powered armor, and he has his swords and everything, and he's followed by Tatsu is the name, who is an Ashigaru. So they are the dudes for Doom Trooper dudes for Mishima, or the poster boys for them. So we have Imperial, which basically sounds exactly what they are. They are the Brits. They are the Commonwealth, more or less. I would say that's the reference here. Imperial was originally the smallest clan. They are not anymore. They are the 4th smallest, because there's one more that is smaller. They are, as I said, they are called the Clans of Damnation. The clans are family companies that banded together to be able to afford to leave a dying Earth. So there you have it. That's why they call the clans, and I'll get into it a little bit further. Another beautiful image from Paul Bonner. In the foreground, we can see Youngblood's military, who are, I think they are the Royal Guardsmen, basically. In the middle, we have Her Serenity, the leader of the Imperial faction, Victoria Paladin, or Victoria the First, I think. Her Serenity is the title for the leader. To the right, we have a Wolfbane. I think that's Wolfbane, at least. They are Young Guards. Sorry, they were called the Young Guards. Yeah, it's a Wolfbane from the Light Cavalry with the Foxhound in the background behind him. And we also... No, sorry. We have a... No, the soldier is a Wolfbane, and he has some kind of ATV thingy majigger. And then we have an agent from the Foxhound unit with cyber mastiffs. There's a lot happening on this image, and I don't know where it's supposed to be. Maybe Venus, or maybe a park on Luna. I don't know. It might actually be a park on Victoria, the asteroid. So Imperial was like the last one, but they are also the reason behind all the shit that's happening in the Mutant Chronicles universe, or the setting, because Imperial has something called conquistadors. They are very expansionist. They tend to, instead, I need to make this smaller. There we go. So instead of like just colonizing, which they also do, they prefer to invade already made like places and take it over with their conquistadors. And they are actually, yes, they are called conquistadors. It's really silly. The poster boys for this faction, there's a lot of them, because Imperial was featured in many in many places before the role-playing game became as it was. In Doom Troopers, there was the Wolfbane. I think he was a Wolfbane. I can't remember. There's like two kinds of them. I'll have to talk a little bit about them in specifics later. I'm just trying to find the information here in the Splat book. Okay. Yes, okay. So in the Doom Troopers game, it's was Sean Gallagher, or Gallagher. He was a Wolfbane. Because reasons, his clan, his entire clan family was killed, and for some reason he chose to become a Wolfbane, and like, I'm no longer the laird of this clan. See ya, I'm off to kill the Dark Legion. There's a picture of him here. There we go. That's a Wolfbane. Then there was Edward Murdoch of the Murdoch clan. He's a golden lion. And I think that's just like a special unit for each clan. Each family or clan has their own special units or special forces army, and then there's the regular Imperial army. And Sean Gallagher was also in another game called Fury of the Clansmen, which was also a board game. And then we have this strapping fella, Sergeant Michael McBride from the Blood Berets, from the board game Blood Berets. So it's a lot of this. There was a lot of them. I also love this one. Rams Air Cavalry. Dude just had 2 rockets on his shoulders and flying around. So as I said, Imperial is basically the Commonwealth. There are several like rich families who join together to be able to get to the stars, which also makes Imperial quite multi-ethnic. Even though in the 90s version we didn't think too much about that, so they were all white. But in the newer versions, they are very multi-ethnic. So they did that, and they continued to expand humanity by moving beyond Jupiter and going farther out in the solar system. I'm sure my arm is going away. We're so far away. All the way out to Pluto and the 10th planet, which was called Planet X back in the 90s. It's not a planet, it's just a celestial object called Planet X then. In the storyline, it's called Nero. So we have Pluto and Nero. By going there, well, in the newer version, in the original version, it sounds like they were basically just fucking around and found out what happened. In the newer version, it's more that the dark soul or the symmetry influenced Imperial conquistadors to travel and release the darkness into our world. So that's what happens. There's even a family called the Kingsfield, which were really fucked up by this because they were they try to do a coup while influenced by the Dark Legion, and so on. It's a whole mess. So there are, in the new version, there are more clans, but every clan, most clans are so large that they have like the ruling family, which is the main source of the clan, and then they have septs, like smaller families outside of them. So there was in the book, there are how many clans? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There are 19 pre-generated clans. You can either like choose a clan, or you can roll for it, or you can create your own clan. And in the 3rd edition, they even added some minor clans to it, just for the hell of it. Let's have a look at which other clans there are. There we go. Here's the Imperial source book. So, as you can see, it's the same cover in the 3rd edition. And I haven't opened this one before. Yeah, smells like new book still. Yeah, there was a part of the... Yes, here we go, clans. Yeah, here we go. Minor clans and notable families. We have the Amis, the Bruce, Dombrowski, Empire, Hidalgo, Jernigan Davies, MacRobert, Ramanujan. So, just to point out that there's a multi-ethnic society going on within the Imperial Corporation. Back. I haven't opened the books, mostly because I had them as PDFs when I bought them. So I never really wanted to open them too often, so this book is a little bit foxed and everything. That's why. Imperial has its presence, as I said, on Mercury and Fukido. They're available, they're on Venus, they're on Mars, they're on Luna. And their main area is the asteroid belt, where they do a lot of mining, and a lot of the families and the clans, they have their like castles or holdings on different asteroids around there. The largest one is called Victoria, and that's basically where everything is. You have oh, sorry, I forgot to say. The current rulers of Imperial are the Paladins or Paladines. Depends on how you pronounce it, I don't know. I think it's Paladine family. The ruler is Victoria, and she has an heir. I can't remember the name. I think his name is Alexander. I think. Sure. But Victoria is basically London. We can just say it's London. There's also another place that is kind of interesting to mention, and that is the asteroid Diamond's Land. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find information on Diamond's Land. Yeah, here we go. Diamond's Land. The largest and most important asteroid, of course, is without any doubt Victoria. But further names show up constantly during discussions all around the solar system. Diamond's Land. The colony was created in the early days of Imperial history and was originally a prisoner colony. Oh, look at that. It's Australia. So there you go. We have Australia as well. Society within social standing within the Imperial faction is based on your clan. So that is actually defining which clan and family you belong to. Defines your social standing. So you have a starting social standing, but there's also a lowest. You cannot fall below this one unless something extraordinary happens, like you're thrown out of the family or something. Let's see now. The original ruling families, or companies, or clans of the Imperial faction, there were three large ones to beginning, and that was the Bartholomews, the Murdochs, and the Maguire. Then came the Age of Strife, where there was a civil war, and yada yada yada. They chose to pass it over to a small clan called the Paladins, and the Paladins are now ruling because they are more objective compared to the others. Each clan actually squabble with each other and fight each other now and again, especially the Maguires and the Murdochs and the others, Bartholomews. There's also a really interesting one here. It's hard to become a member of the Imperial Society. It's not like in Imperial, no, Capital, where you can just like change, join the Foreign Legion and so on. And that is Fieldhausen. There's actually a part of Bauhaus that defected and became members of Imperial, and they are like engineers, as far as I remember. Each clan has its own specialty, but it doesn't really like decide that you cannot do a specific profession or not, but it will give you extra bonus if you decide to participate in the clan's own career choices. We have the special professions or career choices here. We have the bureaucrats. Well, of course, we have the military, and we have the... Sorry, we can start with that. We have the military, and we have everything else. We have the ISC, which is basically the MI. This is the military intelligence, like MI6, MI5, and those in UK today. Then we have the clan warriors, which are, as I said, each clan has its own military force. So we have the special forces and the imperial administration. So we have the bureaucrats. Yeah, sorry, I forgot here, because you have the regular army and you have the clan army. That's what I meant. My bad. We have the bureaucrats, we have conquistadors. We have basically the home guard here. Once more, this is here the protector force. Yeah, that's the corporate forces. We have diplomats, doctors, unemployed. Can actually be unemployed. Consultants, rogues, which are basically like rogue traders in Warhammer 40k. They are smugglers and scoundrels. We have the ISC, we have the workers, lawyers, and then we have one class that I kind of enjoyed, and that is a nice little nod to P.G. Wodehouse with the characters from like Jeeves and Wooster, or just the Bertie Wooster character in general. And they are like noblemen or people of a certain social standing, 8 or higher, that do nothing. They just float around society, being rich and spoiled. Journalists, scientists, special forces, students, and it's kind of interesting because a lot of things that you can choose career-wise is also based on the school you went to within this. So it was a little bit more advanced character generation, but it also made the game, once more, it broke the game. You could min-max like a motherfucker due to that. So in this book also there's like navigation and traveling in space, which wasn't that common. There's a lot of information about Victoria and stuff, and I don't remember too much about that part. Yeah, that's more or less it for Imperial. So let's go on to the final corporation. I think that will be it for today, because my throat is getting really, really sore. The final corporation, which broke the camel's back, would be, just a moment, Cybertronic. And once more, we have this wonderful, wonderful painting by by Bonner once more. So I have this spot book here. So let's see now. In the Doom Trooper, the poster boys in the Doom Trooper universe were Coral Beach, Agent Coral Beach is right here, the back. And the Attila 3 droid unit, I guess would be the right name. But here they introduce, on the front, they introduce some new characters. And that is Special Chasseur. A Chasseur is, I think that's a cavalry unit from the Napoleonic era. His name is at least Vince Diamond. In the background, we can see which is an XP on the Ed 209 unit. It's kind of a joke in itself. Let's see, I can't remember, what was it called? It's the, yeah, here we go. It's the Eradicator droid. It's kind of silly. It looks like a big chicken, to be honest. Cybertronic is the youngest and the smallest of the Megacorporations. It's less than 100 years old, or exactly 100 years old. There's a very interesting and fun story of how the founding of it, and it's basically a retelling of the it's just a retelling of how of the what's it called, the Wall Street crash in the 20s, the late, was it 1928, I think it was, the Wall Street crash, and from that crash Cybertronic was formed. I'm not going to go into too much about the meta behind Cybertronic. It's a very secretive organization, or a corporation that is very, very secretive. There's not much known for outsiders, and it's even reflected in the Splat book, because you don't get much information in this one. There's a lot of hints, and I think they were going to go on with the meta story more, but I felt that they kind of lost their way when they started the power creep and everything, and then, well, role-playing games started to lose popularity, and they never finished the story. Third edition does that, and I would have to do a separate video just to discuss the meta story, so there will be no spoilers here about that. In the world of Mutant Chronicles, technology doesn't really work too well because of the darkness. The darkness corrupts high technology. There's even a dark god of technology and war, and his name is Algoroth. He like, when he showed up on the scene, all AI went corrupt and tried to kill humanity. Like, robots went nuts, and these fuckers use robots. That makes people kind of shit their pants a little bit. The Brotherhood, of course, being worried about humanity in general, believe that Cybertronic might be agents of the Dark Soul. I can tell you that is very clear in the Splat book. They have found a way to not be affected by the Dark Legion's influence on the Dark Soul. Exactly how that happens isn't explained. They try to claim it's scientific, but it seems to be a little bit supernatural as well. As I said, that's a meta story thing. It's really not explained in the book. But yeah, there we go. Cybertronic, of course, was built on the idea of like the pyramid and the three pillars of society, so they have like that thing holding it up. Someday I'm going to read these stories from the books. I hope if I do like individual stories, I'm going to do like story time as well. As I said, Cybertronic is hated by especially Imperial, and because Imperial lost a lot during the founding, and also the Brotherhood, of course, due to losing so much. I think Bauhaus isn't too happy either, because they lost a lot as well. Capital is kind of neutral. Mishima see them as who like to make cheap and available technology don't really like them too well either, due to them fighting over like who makes the best technology. Basically, every single member of Cybertronic is a cyborg, as far as I remember. And there's another thing that is kind of funny here. If I can find it. Because the lore part of this is like more than half the book. Is they try to make it seem like a newspaper. And it even has ads in the text here. So like this. The Brotherhood is always there for you. Always. There's also one here from Capital. The hardback armor. Always good protection. Let's see now. Yes. So you have everything is based on this really weird character creation here. You can either be something called a VAC or a TIFF. The VAC, if I can see here. VAC, the vacationers, are basically slaves. They are not as... They seem to be a little bit slower. TIFs are called the Tempest Fugit and are the elite. And then you can be part of like the 3 pillars. You have the RDM, which is Research, Development, and Manufacturing. The AEM, Administration, Economics, and Management. And SWI, Security, Warfare, and Intelligence. Of course, everybody was part of the SWI because action RPG. And there were certain rules for rolling or creating a character depending on which pillar they were in, if they were a vacationer or a Tempest Fugit. Let's see now, the vacationers is like you roll like standard 3d6 for everything except for personality, which is only 1d6. While the Tiffs had, the Tempest Fugits had like specialist things. They were super annoying. I'll have to go through this a little bit more information-wise. There's also, because according to this, it's basically that to be a part of Cybertronic, you must have died or been brainwashed. So therefore, when you check any of the, like, for example, there's a event table, like for everything else, but instead of actually telling you what happened, in the other ones are like, oh, you had an accident, you have a disability. This one just says, yeah, you got new legs. It's like, okay. So everything was really confusing. So there you go. That was... oh, right. They also tried to add cyberpunk here by the end, because Cybertronic, of course, has its own thing, like cyberspace, called the sub-reality. There was even a skill for that. The main power of Cybertronic is the Cuirassiers, which are the robots. Entirely full AIs, depending on, of course, which mark it is, of course. The Atla units, for example, are the most known ones, and for the Doom Trooper setting, it was the Atla 3, the Mark 3, which had an intelligence of 3. I thought it was more intelligent. Oh well. It says here, the Atla units are covered in synthetic skin, so they won't be too obviously mechanical when you look at them for the first time. They are enormous and always have a stupid grin on their face. Most just see them as unintelligent giants until they have been like checking them out a little bit closer. But those who know the least bit will recognize them like really from really far away, no matter if they are wearing that synthetic skin or not. So they are Terminators. So many things that have been borrowed from other places. There's, of course, everyone has cybernetics. There's a full list in here on like which cybernetic augmentation a character can have, depending on what they belong to, and so on and so forth. Well, hello there. Thank you, phone. Thank you for wishing me a happy new year. That was yesterday. I'm trying to remember if I'm... Oh, right. Cybertronic, of course, like every other corporation, has a presence on Luna. They have a little bit of a presence on every other planet, and I believe they are also the ones that are the farthest out in the solar system with their headquarters on Ganymede, and that's it. Due to the Dark Legion, nobody is actually further away than the asteroid belt. Cybertronic are like the exception, since they have one base on Ganymede. There you go. And that will be it for today, because my throat is killing me. I wanted to talk more. We can have a look at the other ones I wanted to talk about. That will have to be a different video, I guess. The first one would be the Brotherhood. Once more, we have Paul Bonner. We have some Inquisitors here. You can see why we always saw it as a religious cult, or like the space Catholics. And the dude there, the bald dude, is the Cardinal of Luna, which is basically the second in command of the Brotherhood, and that would be Dominic, is his name. Ooh, excuse me, I'm burpy today. Then, of course, we have there were 2 Dark Legion splat books. We had one for Ilian. Ilian was the first god, so to speak. She is the mistress of the void. She would be basically Tzeentch in the 40k universe. She has magic and trickery on her side, and I don't like this one. I don't like the way the cover is, because it's not a Bonner. It breaks the entire mold from going from these beautiful oil paintings to whatever the heck this is, 90s weirdness comic book style. And the final one, which was a favorite, we have here the Algroth Black Book, which was the handbook for the heretics. Algroth is the largest Dark Legion faction in the game. In the background, we can see 2 Razid, or whatever, however it's pronounced, and we have a Nephorite here. He's a Magos called Valpurgius. I think he works for Alakai, I think, maybe, or if it's Saladin, I think it's Alakai. And he has 2 prisoners, that's Max Steiner and Valerie DeVol, actually, and he's torturing Max Steiner there. Just wanted to show you guys that one. And that's it. So thank you for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I wasn't babbling too much about everything and nothing. If you have any questions, do leave questions. If there's a lot of questions, I might actually do another video, or I'll probably make more videos. This was kind of fun to talk again about one of my favorite role-playing games. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope this is January 1st. I hope everyone has a good time and a good continuation of the holidays, and that this year will be a great one for you. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.